In the incredible story of Susan Boyle, there's more than meets the eye. We all know her as the amazing singer who surprised the world, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes. Imagine a beautiful song, but when it ends, there's a different, more complicated story. Susan's journey is like that, a mix of triumph and challenges. When we see Susan, her voice makes everything seem perfect. But when the music stops, her life reveals struggles with health, family problems, and personal heartbreak. It's a story of ups and downs, where the fame she got brings both joy and difficulties. Often, we only notice the success, the bright lights, and the happy moments. But with Susan Boyle, if you look closer, there's a whole other side to her life, one filled with unexpected turns, tough times, and the determination to keep going. So let's take a closer look at Susan Boyle's journey. Beyond the applause and the fame, there's a woman who faced challenges with strength and grace. This story goes beyond the stage, inviting us to discover the real Susan Boyle, hidden behind the public image. Early misdiagnosis and the revelation. Susan Boyle's journey took an unexpected turn right from the start. For the first 51 years of her life, she carried a belief that shaped her identity, a misdiagnosis that colored her world. Born with a condition misunderstood by doctors, Susan lived thinking she had brain damage due to a lack of oxygen during birth. But then, in 2013, her life narrative underwent a profound transformation. Imagine discovering that what you believed about yourself for over 5 decades was not true. Susan, the acclaimed star of Britain's Got Talent, learned she didn't have brain damage, but rather a form of autism spectrum disorder known as Asperger's. This revelation wasn't just a correction of facts, it was a shift in Susan's entire perception of herself. In an interview with The Guardian, she described it as a blessing in disguise, bringing newfound clarity to her life. Suddenly, the label that burdened her for so long was lifted, replaced by an understanding of who she truly was. This revelation wasn't just a personal discovery. It was a window into a world that was unfairly labeled. Susan, like many on the autism spectrum, faced heightened anxiety and challenges in social situations. The acknowledgement of her Asperger's diagnosis wasn't just self-awareness. It became an opportunity to foster a deeper understanding of neurodiversity within society. Sharing her quest for a second opinion, Susan revealed that she sought clarity out of concern for a potentially serious illness. Despite her hopes that being identified as neurodiverse wouldn't drastically alter her life, she expressed a desire for it to promote acceptance and understanding among others. In her own words, Susan believed that people would treat her better because they would have a much greater understanding of who she is and why she does the things she does. The misdiagnosis wasn't just a medical error. It was a significant chapter in Susan's life story. The revelation of her true condition, Asperger's, offered not only self-awareness, but also the chance to be a voice for those who, like her, faced invisible challenges. Susan's journey with Asperger's became a testament to resilience, a reminder that our understanding of others goes beyond what meets the eye. School years, bullying and misunderstandings. Susan Boyle's school years were meant to be a sanctuary, a space for learning and growth. Yet for Susan, it became a starkly different experience, marred by the harsh realities of being different. In a candid interview with the Daily Mail in 2017, Susan revealed the painful truth about her school days, a time when she was bullied simply for not fitting in. "I was bullied then because I was different. People said horrible things to me," Susan shared. Her mother's persistent presence at the school was a testament to the inadequate handling of bullying during that time, a stark contrast to the measures in place today. The torment Susan endured wasn't confined to verbal abuse. Physical harm was also inflicted upon her by fellow students. In 2011, Susan disclosed to the Daily Mail that she was unfairly labeled as hyperactive, a misguided attempt to rationalize her emotional sensitivities in the face of relentless cruelty. The emotional toll of such mistreatment is unimaginable for anyone, let alone a young person grappling with the challenges of being different. Adding to the difficulties was a profound lack of understanding about learning disabilities during Susan's school years. This knowledge gap only fueled the bullies and their relentless cruelties. Shockingly, the mistreatment extended beyond her peers to include bullying from teachers themselves. In 2009, Susan recounted to the Mirror that teachers would instruct her to shut up, revealing a distressing environment where the very adults entrusted with protection perpetuated harm. She further disclosed that she endured daily beatings, an unfathomable reality for a student seeking support and guidance. Being subjected to bullying by both peers and teachers paints a painful picture of Susan's school years, highlighting a time when awareness of learning disabilities and effective anti-bullying measures were sorely lacking. Susan's resilience in the face of such adversity becomes all the more admirable as she emerges from this challenging period to become an advocate for those facing similar struggles. Her experiences underscore the importance of fostering empathy and understanding in schools, creating an environment where every student, regardless of differences, can thrive. Living with epilepsy. Susan Boyle faced extra difficulties in school because she had a condition called epilepsy. Epilepsy is when your brain doesn't work right, and it can make you have something called a seizure. Susan had these seizures when she was in school, and it made things harder for her. She shared in an interview in 2011 that she fainted a lot in school because of epilepsy. Her parents were worried about her and tried to keep her safe by being very protective, like wrapping her in cotton wool. Even though they meant well, it made things tough for Susan. People didn't really understand epilepsy back then, and it made her life at school even more challenging. Susan's experience with epilepsy shows that even if you have something different about you, it doesn't mean you can't achieve great things. She didn't let epilepsy stop her from pursuing her dreams, and today she's using her fame to tell everyone that people with epilepsy are just like everyone else. It's an important message that helps others understand and support those with epilepsy. Family dynamics and personal struggles. Susan Boyle's family had some tough times. Her dad, even though he was a good man, had a temper. Sometimes he got angry, and it made things hard for Susan. She shared in an interview that her dad showed his temper to her and hurt her. Even though he didn't mean to, it left a mark. In 2009, Susan also talked about her brief engagement. She was supposed to get married, but it didn't happen. Her fiancé changed his mind, and Susan felt sad. It made her feel like she wasn't attractive, but she stayed optimistic, thinking that maybe there was something good for her in the future. The hardest part for Susan was losing her mom and sister. Her mom, Bridget, was a big supporter of her singing dreams. Bridget passed away in 2007, just 2 years before Susan became super famous on Britain's Got Talent. Losing her mom was tough, and it made Susan feel lonely. Then, in 2015, Susan's sister, Bridie, also passed away. Bridie had been there for Susan, supporting and being honest with her. Losing both her mom and sister was really hard for Susan. Losing someone you love, especially family, takes away a part of you, and it can affect your confidence. But Susan didn't give up. She found strength in the memories of her mom's belief in her talent and her sister's honesty. These experiences, the ups and downs with her family, losing loved ones, and dealing with tough emotions, shaped Susan Boyle into the person she is today. They are part of her journey, showing that even when life is hard, you can still keep going. Pursuing a musical dream. Susan Boyle always loved music. Even when she was young, she had a passion for singing. Her mom, Bridget, was her biggest supporter. Bridget encouraged Susan to follow her dreams, even when things got tough. Susan's journey to stardom really began when she went on a show called Britain's Got Talent. This was a big deal for Susan because she was 47 years old at the time. People didn't expect much from her, but she surprised everyone. When Susan stepped onto the stage and started singing, everyone was amazed. Her voice was incredible. The judges and the audience were shocked because they didn't think someone like Susan could sing so well. This moment had a big impact on society. It showed that talent doesn't have an age limit. Even if someone is not what people expect, they can still be amazing. So Susan's love for music, her mom's support, and her surprising performance on Britain's Got Talent all played a big part in her journey to becoming a star. It changed how people thought about talent and success. Challenges of fame. After Susan Boyle became famous on Britain's Got Talent, her life changed a lot. Fame brought both good and bad things. Firstly, a lot of people loved Susan and her singing. They thought she was amazing. But with this love came a lot of attention. The press, which means newspapers, magazines, and TV, started looking at everything she did. They wanted to know about her private life, the things she did when she wasn't singing. This was not easy for Susan because it meant she couldn't be as private as before. Imagine everyone looking at what you do all the time. It can be very stressful. Susan felt this stress, and it affected her personal relationships. She worried that her new friends might not really care about her, but only about her fame. This made her anxious. She even had trouble sleeping because she was afraid of losing her friends. So even though becoming famous was exciting, it also brought challenges. Susan had to deal with a lot of attention, and it made her think about who her real friends were. It's not always easy being famous. Health challenges, diabetes, and stroke. Susan Boyle faced health challenges that tested her strength and determination. One significant health issue was her diagnosis of type 2 diabetes. This means her body had trouble managing sugar, and it required changes in her life. To take care of her health, Susan made a tough decision. She decided to give up something she loved, chocolate. It was her way of managing the diabetes and staying healthy. This shows how committed she was to taking care of herself. But the challenges didn't end there. In 2020, the world faced a big problem called the COVID-19 pandemic. People with diabetes, like Susan, were at more risk if they got this virus. So she had to be extra careful. She stayed indoors a lot to protect herself. During the lockdown, like many others, Susan faced tough days. Some days were low, and she felt stuck. It's not easy being stuck at home, looking at the same walls every day. But Susan was smart. She knew catching COVID-19 wouldn't be good for her, so she followed the advice to stay safe. Later, Susan faced another health scare. She had a minor stroke. A stroke is when there's a problem with blood going to the brain, and it can affect how a person speaks and moves. Susan talked about this on a TV show where she used to be a contestant, Britain's Got Talent. She explained that she had the stroke in April and, amazingly, came back to sing on the same stage. This shows how strong Susan is. Even with health challenges, she didn't give up. She worked hard to speak and sing again. It's a testament to her determination and resilience in the face of tough times. Health challenges, diabetes, and stroke. Susan Boyle faced tough times with her health. One big challenge was finding out she had type 2 diabetes. This means her body had trouble dealing with sugar, so she had to make changes in her life. Susan really loved chocolate, but she had to give it up to stay healthy. It was a hard choice, but she did it to take care of herself. Imagine giving up something you really like for your health. That's a big deal. Then, in 2020, there was this big problem called COVID-19. People like Susan with diabetes had to be super careful. She stayed home a lot to be safe, but staying home all the time can be tough. Susan, like many others, had days when she felt low or bored, just staring at the same walls. And then there was another scary moment. Susan had a minor stroke. A stroke can make it hard to talk and move. Susan talked about this on a TV show where she used to sing, Britain's Got Talent. She had the stroke in April, and guess what? She came back to sing on the same stage. That's pretty amazing. All of this shows how strong Susan is. Even when things got tough, she didn't give up. Intrusions and safety concerns. Susan Boyle faced some really scary moments when people invaded her privacy. Imagine being at home, where you should feel safe, and suddenly there's someone there who shouldn't be. That's what happened to Susan. Once, a young person came into her home when she wasn't expecting it. Luckily, nothing was taken, but just the idea of someone being where they shouldn't be must have been really frightening for Susan. And it didn't stop there. Another time, a fan followed her to a hotel and tried to get into her room. Even though Susan ignored him, he kept bothering her. Imagine feeling like you can't even be safe in a hotel. That's a lot for anyone to handle. After all this, some local boys made things worse. They chased Susan, threw stones, and even lit paper on fire. This happened when she moved back to her childhood home. Can you imagine being scared in your own neighborhood? It's really tough. But Susan didn't let these scary moments stop her. She stayed strong and didn't let anyone push her around. Even though it was hard, she talked about how much she loved her neighborhood and the people who looked out for her. That's real courage. family discord, and personal strife. Family problems can be tough for anyone, and Susan Boyle went through a lot of them. There was a big fight in her family about money, and it caused a lot of emotional pain. On one side were Susan's sister, nieces, and nephew. On the other side were her siblings. The fight started because Susan's brother Jerry asked her for a lot of money, around $75,000, to help his business. This caused a lot of trouble. Some people even said that Jerry threatened to hurt himself if Susan didn't give him the money. But Jerry denied these claims. Family fights about money are never easy. While all of this was happening, Susan was still trying to help Jerry with his money problems. When people found out about it, things got even more complicated. Susan must have felt really stuck in the middle. Picture being famous and having your family argue about money for everyone to see. It's not easy. But Susan, despite all her success, still had to deal with these really tough family problems. It shows that no matter how famous you are, family stuff can be really hard. Facing a stroke and return to the spotlight. Sometimes life throws us challenges, and Susan Boyle faced a big one. She had something called a minor stroke. This means there was a problem with her brain that made things difficult. But guess what? Susan didn't let it stop her. Instead, she worked really hard to get better. Imagine going through something tough, like having trouble speaking or singing, and then having the courage to go back on stage. That's exactly what Susan did. She went back to the spotlight, back to where everyone could see her. It wasn't easy, but she showed everyone that no matter what happens, you can still follow your dreams. It's like saying, hey, I'm not giving up, and I'm still going to do what I love. So Susan Boyle faced a health challenge, but she didn't let it keep her down. She came back stronger than ever, and that's pretty amazing. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button and share this video with your friends and family.